The 86 Reason podcast, presented by Over Easy Office, is back with a really exciting guest. Maybe the only person I know that can make restaurant tech accounting sales sound fun somehow. I mean, usually anytime I want to put someone to sleep or end conversation, I'll let them know what I do for a living. Somehow you make it sound fun, and I am jealous of your LinkedIn presence. And here I am with the one and only Chad Freedman from Sage Intacct. How are you, my friend?
Wow. Wow, that's quite the introduction. I'm well. Thank you for having me on the show, Javi. It's been fun. I actually watched the last episode and really enjoyed it. I thought it was cool that you cross-pollinated with another accounting firm. And so yeah, it's great to be here. Thanks for inviting me on.
It's awesome to have you, Chad. So, Chad, I got to say, man, so I feel like we're in a very specific niche, right? Which is servicing or selling to essentially financial leaders that are also tied to the hospitality industry. And you've been at this for a while, right? How long have you been doing restaurant-focused sales?
Restaurant-focused sales. Yeah, good question. So let me do a little bit of napkin math. I don't want to age myself, but for over almost 2 decades. And it's
You've been
just,
doing restaurant-focused sales. All right, so we got to get in here. So
yeah,
where did
yeah.
this start? All right, so what have you ever worked in a restaurant, Chad?
Yeah, in fact, I just did a post recently on LinkedIn about about failure. And one of the first jobs I had, my dad actually had to sign like an OSHA or some sort of certificate because I was
Okay.
14 years old making sandwiches. And I was making sandwiches at the time it was called Bel Air Market. They've rebranded since then to just the Market. And this is a place that like literally during lunchtime, the line wraps around the coffee kiosk all the way out the door. And I was making sandwiches there when I was 14 years old, and I was so bad. I mean, thank you, Pat. Pat Pitts, general manager there, will always be grateful because you hired me. And I was so bad that I would mess orders up, and you got a comp sandwich for lunch, and the orders that would get returned, that was the comp sandwich. Yeah.
That was
And
your
you would
sandwich.
think that like enough return sandwiches, you would learn the menu and be able to like make a sandwich. No, ate a lot of really gross sandwiches that summer, took the grease out back. Like, yeah, that was my entry to the restaurant world.
Did you have a favorite sandwich to make? I'm sure it was ham and cheese with mayo, but
Well,
did you?
yeah. Well, I wasn't good at making them, but my favorite sandwich at the Market it's called the Farmington, and it's pepper turkey, bacon, banana peppers, and sorry, I add the banana peppers. That's not normal. They actually put coleslaw on it, and it's so freaking good, and lettuce, tomato, and cheese, but it's really good. And they make French bread in house. It's not your
Ooh,
typical gas station sandwich spot. It's in a very affluent part of town. So
got it. And
yeah.
in this spot still rocks and rolls to this day?
Dude, I think they probably have like 15 locations,
Oh,
all
wow.
all based with gas station, made to order food and sandwiches. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
I think the guy that owns it, or it's two brothers that it started as a fuel company,
Oh,
petroleum.
wow.
And I think those guys, I think they live in the neighborhood. I just moved across the country from Denver to Virginia, and I think those guys, one of them lives near me. He doesn't know me, right? Why would he? But I'm the dude that
Because, well, no, because he would know you because when he was looking at the
he's
P&L,
like, do
there was a
not
Chad
hire
Freedman
me.
comp line. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah, so there's a long-winded answer of how I got into the restaurant space, and I've come and gone a little bit, but I would say 70-80% of my career has somehow been connected to restaurants.
And did you end up doing any other operations or working as a server or bartender or anything? Or How did that evolve? Because I'm sure you're still
Yeah,
not making sandwiches. What happened
correct.
after that?
Correct. So today I sell finance and accounting software to multi-location restaurant groups. And so, no, I was unhired. I think I got blacklisted from the restaurant industry in terms of hireability after that. But after college, I started actually. I've always been a vendor to restaurants. So the job I had after college, I would literally, and I just I'm going to give Jimmy Spire a shout out, who hired me at Restaurant 365 many years ago. But he did a post today about digital door knocking. I was doing on the ground door knocking to the back of restaurants, asking them for their cooking oil. And so that was
What?
I started with a grease collection business out of college and was there for about 3.5 years. And so I learned about sales there. We went and grew that company from $1 million in revenue to about 12 million in about 3 years. And I did sales, operations, and logistics, and then physical commodity trading for them. And that was my like crash course MBA. So that's how I learned about accounting and ERP. And funny enough, when you think about restaurants and inventory management, it's really like a manufacturing business, right? Your bill of
Yeah.
materials is your recipes, and your raw materials are your ingredients. So kind of took what I learned from that experience there, and then I've been able to like think through that in terms of how that applies to what's going on in the restaurant space.
So, all right, so Chad, so you go from what is really boots on the ground position, and was R365 really the first time you were working in a more, let's call it in today's modern tech sales environment?
Not quite. So after the grease collection business,
Okay.
I tried to, and this was another failure on that LinkedIn post I put up. I tried to start my own company. So I was buying and selling 6,000 gallon tanker loads of used cooking oil
Trying to make
from,
fuel out of it?
well, I was trading it, but yes, that's the end product. It would be traded into biodiesel producing facilities and then turned into that. But yeah, so I was buying the tanker loads and sending it to the facilities. Did that for like 15 months. Borrowed some money from my old man, took my life savings, put it into that business, and was able to pay him back. He made a little money, I made a little money, but at the end of the day, I failed at that business. And then I walked in the door with a company called Order Up, which was software for restaurants on the delivery side. So
Okay.
that was really my intro to restaurant delivery technology. And
Okay.
they were launching markets nationally, and I think we were acquired by Grubhub. No, we were
Okay.
acquired by Groupon, and then Groupon sold us to Grubhub. And so
Okay.
that was restaurant technology. And then that was a marketplace, restaurant delivery. And we know that that marketplace has since, a lot of consolidation. Now you've got Uber Eats, you've got
Absolutely.
DoorDash, you've got Grubhub, and a few others in that space. But really, those are the
Yeah.
big dogs. And then I started another company. We won't go in there, but that was a technology-based company. I failed at that. And then I got married, and that's when we moved to Denver. And that's when I got connected to Restaurant 365.
Interesting. So it's funny because I've never really worked in a structured, or I don't know, like in a structured restaurant tech, a traditional, let's say, funded restaurant tech
Sure.
situation, right?
Yeah. Series A, Series B, VC. Yeah, got it.
Yeah. And so when you first went over to R365, and especially after having worked at Order Up, like, did you see what was it like to sell then? Brand new product, brand new team. Obviously, I mean, you had some chops in the restaurant space, but I'm sure it was a completely different kind of sale because you're not trying to help revenue side. It's all about the back office. Like, what was your experience like? Was there a big learning curve? I mean, I'd love to hear about those first
Yeah.
days.
Yeah, it's a good question. So, yeah, with the restaurant delivery, you're right, Javi. It's all about revenue, right? Like the
Yeah,
restaurant business is hard. You really have only a couple ways to generate more revenue, right? You can increase your prices, you can open more locations, or you can expand like into catering or something like that.
sure.
And so restaurant delivery was really like, hey, not capital intensive. We're going to open up a new market and increase revenue. That was the sales prop, or value prop, I guess. Going to R365, it was kind of the perfect culmination because when you think about R365, it's super operations focused. And when you think about my background in the grease collection business, and then understanding, talking to GMs and restaurant owners about the challenges of like, how do you grow revenue? And then thinking through the operations of, well, this was before delivery was like a thing. Remember, when I
Yeah,
was looking at markets for Order Up, people were like, well, I thought pizza shops delivered. What do you, I'm like, I'm sushi. I'm like,
sure.
Mediterranean food. I'm in like, in a lot of these markets. So we had to really think strategically about like how do you sell to somebody that they want to control the food, the delivery,
Sure.
the quality, right? And so going to R365 and being this, I was hired right around Series A, 20 million. And it was like this culmination of everything I'd learned about operations from doing it, not necessarily in a restaurant, but restaurant ancillary businesses. It segued really nicely into ERP. And so that's why I think I've actually been fortunate to find my niche in the ERP space. And for those of you that don't like acronyms or you know, are listening, ERP is Enterprise Resource Planning, and that's a fancy way of saying like accounting, operations, everything in one purview, so to speak. So, yeah, it was fun, and I felt like I found my calling and hit the ground running.
So up until that point, Chad, had you always been working in a remote setting? Was that in office? What were those first days of working with R365 like?
Yeah, so R365 was, let's see, I was in Denver and they were really focused on hiring the best people for the job. Where, you know, I don't know that everybody, so they were remote before like COVID, right? And before
Okay,
remote was a thing. And their focus was let's get the best people. Let's not just be subject to like this one market to build our company, which
sure.
kudos to them at that time to do that. So yeah, I've been a remote employee for like over a decade now across
Wow.
multiple organizations, and for me that works really well. Just I've even posted about this on LinkedIn. Neurodivergent, right? So ADHD, OCD, all of those things. So being able to have like my space and my desk set up the way that I like it set up, and yeah, it works for me. And then I like to sprinkle in the office visits and do that kind of stuff. So
I like the OCD portion of it because I can see that each of the paintings that you have behind you are perfectly lined up. Well done, sir. Well done.
thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it, man.
So
So yeah, go ahead.
I was going to ask you. So you're working in R365, and how much of the experience when you first started selling the back office tech did you feel was working the system and process versus how much do you think of the success comes from building relationships? Like, where do you think that it's important as a restaurant tech salesperson to focus your skill set on technical knowledge, on product knowledge, on working your systems, or on building relationships? All of them. I'd love to hear your perspective on it.
Yeah, good question. So where did I find success? Where do tech salespeople find success? Is it? I think it's a little bit of common. You mentioned relationships. I definitely don't think it hurts to be likable,
Yeah.
right? I also think that like the days of, taking people out to lunches and like the golfing and that stuff, I think those are for better or worse, like that's an antiquated way of
You know.
selling. There's just so much information out there and like the world's moving really fast and people are busy and they don't want a 4 hour lunch or like
Yeah.
golf. So they just want you to solve the problem, and they
Right.
don't care if are who you are, what you are. If you don't want to be a jerk, but at the end of the day, I think it really comes down to focusing on solving the client's problem. And I would say the other thing that I always tell younger sellers that I wish younger Chad knew or had recognized that, like, as a salesperson, your agenda does not matter. What my agenda is does not matter.
Yeah.
And the sooner you recognize that and that your focus really flips to how can I help this client? And if I can't, I want to tell them as soon as possible so that I don't waste their time. I don't waste their
Yeah.
energy. And generally speaking, with my experience, and because I've, made sandwiches terribly, I've collected the cooking oil from the restaurant, I've launched markets for restaurant delivery, and now I've, sold R365 and I'm helping uh, lead some of the verticalization at Sage Intacct. It all really comes back to like helping that client and just
Yeah.
doing that. And then when you have that experience, you also know the entire ecosystem. So if you can't help them, it's like, hey man, listen, I'd love to sell you accounting software. I've got two young kids that maybe will go to college. I don't know, but they're expensive today. So I can't help you, but like Craftable, Margin Edge, or Cogswell, right? I think, did I see Bill Lindsay was on this show? Or am
He
I making that
was.
up? Yeah,
He
I mean,
was.
absolute legend. Like,
Yeah. Agreed.
like those. So knowing that stuff and being able to say, hey, go fix that problem. Don't worry about accounting right now. You actually, it looks like an accounting problem, but it's disguised. It's really, you've got an operations problem. And so I'll really focus making the client see that. And then if after they fix that, they still feel like they have an accounting problem, then we can talk.
I love it. So, Chad, from your perspective, so you've worked in a growing kind of startup software environment, and then you've also worked, of course, now with Sage in a much what I would think is a much different type of atmosphere, right? More established, maybe a little bit more infrastructure, more of a playbook. And what do you think are some of the good things about working in that startup type of phase? And then what do you think are some of the good things about working now in a much more perhaps structured environment? Or tell me if I'm wrong. Like, I'd love to hear about the experience between the both sides of it.
We're being recorded, so I don't think I can say everything. But um, I think if you are a young seller, that's the lens I'm looking at this through, right? Because
Sure.
that's who I am. I'm not a CFO. I'm not a controller. I'm not a restaurant owner. I've just sold to all of those people. So the big difference is when I think about, hey, if you're looking at getting into tech sales and selling in the rest tech space, what do you have agency? If you have agency, a Series A company is an incredible place to be, because you can really like have an impact faster in that space. I just remember at R365, we were trying so many different things and seeing what sticked, and you could do this one thing and then come back to the VP of sales and be like, hey, I figured this out, this works. And it was like, cool, let's roll that out across. Or like, hey, I've been trying this, let's tell everybody that this didn't work. And it's like, okay, everybody that's doing this, if you're not having success with it, stop and don't waste time spending it, right? So it was really, that's super fun to have
Yeah.
that. And I would say at Sage, like, you don't lose that. The best big companies, like, Sage competes with Oracle and NetSuite, right?
Yeah.
There's a reason NetSuite it's a great product. Oracle's a
Huge company. Yeah.
multi-billion, yeah, it's
Yeah.
like, companies aren't dumb. They don't get that big and that strong by being dumb, right? It's just a different movement and a different motion. So like when I came to Sage Intacct, we didn't have a restaurant specific vertical. It fell within our general business vertical. And so that's what I actually, for the first 2 years at Sage Intacct, never even talked to a restaurant. I was all general business. And then they said, hey, let's break that out. And that's when I got the opportunity to kind of build the vertical out over here. And I would never take full credit for that at all. I have an incredible manager and boss in Sarah Rusted. I've got incredible teammates with Joy McVicker, Jess Wilson, and this is full circle. The guy that hired me at Restaurant 365 almost a decade ago, Craig Rogers, is now on the team here at Sage Intacct.
Wow.
And so we're building something really cool here. It's just within a much bigger organization. So yeah, it's fun in a different way. It's just and you know, I was fired from Restaurant 365, so I don't breeze over that, right? It was COVID, and they went from 400 people one day to 100 people, and I was one of the top sellers there. I thought my job was safe, and it wasn't. And I was, you know, I had literally. This is a good anecdote. I think the statute of limitations had passed too, but. This story.
We love the juice, bro. We love the juice.
Yeah,
Let's go.
let's see. So, it was March, and I had just.
And this is COVID times, no?
Yeah, it was like I had just come back from Central America, and was talking to one of the founders of R365, and was like, man, this is pretty weird. Like, you know, restaurants are going to be closing. And he was like, yeah, you know, this will just be one of the chapters of R365. Like, you know, we're good, we're well funded, blah, 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 blah. I was like, okay, well, you know, my wife and I are about to destroy our house and take out a construction loan to build 2 houses, and we're going to sell one and then move into the other. Like, I don't want to, if I'm at risk of losing my job, like, I don't want to demolish my house and sign on the dotted line for this, you know, $1.5 million construction loan. And I was like, oh man, you're OG, you're good, like nothing's gonna happen. I'm so proud that, like, you know, you being at R365 has afforded you the opportunity to, like, do this cool entrepreneurial thing, and like, no, you're good. And I was like, awesome. Like, went home, talked to my wife. I was like, let's do this. We'd been working on this for like 9-10 months. Signed the construction loan, demolished the house, and then a week later filed for unemployment. And it was just like,
God.
oh, cool. You know, cliche, but one door closes, another one opens. It was amazing. I learned how, I don't know which end of a hammer to hold, but I ended up building 2 houses. We went through with the project. We didn't have a house. We had moved into a temporary apartment.
Wow.
And we have incredible neighbors in Denver. We still have the house in Denver. And it ultimately led me to do some more real estate development while I was at Sage. And so, like, you know, again, cliche, one door closes, another one opens, but I learned a lot from that. And because I wasn't working at R365, I really got to get my hands dirty and follow our general contractor around and learn the building of how you build a house.
That's pretty rad.
It was awesome. I love it.
And in
It's
hindsight, I'm sure what was a very scary time in terms of equities and interest rates and all that,
Yep.
probably turned out pretty well, right? Because I'm pretty sure most of that real estate has turned out well.
Yeah, there was definitely, lumber prices went up, but overall, we were very fortunate the way things worked out. And the calculated risks are, a good thing. So yeah, it was cool, but I like to say that I learned a lot from that in a lot of different ways. Yeah.
So how do you as a salesperson? Because I've never really had quotas or anything like that. I've always been on the restaurant tech side with pure grit. You know what I mean? And even on the OEO side, it's always been self funded and
Yep.
learn the hard way, or try to just deliver great work. I've never had a marketing
Yep.
team, any of
Word
that
of mouth
stuff.
for you guys. I feel like that's a big piece for you.
It's absolutely organic growth and delivering quality. But when you're working within the parameters of this traditional kind of sales setup and you've got quotas and you are trying to do the best by clients by, selling them things that actually will be useful, but at the same
Mhm.
time you're feeling pressure, and you definitely want to close. Like, how do you deal with that? You ever stressed out? Do you communicate with your managers? Like how does that usually, how do you deal with the emotional part of that stuff?
That's a good question. So if you're in sales, how do you deal with the stress of a quota? That's what I
Yeah,
distilled that question down to. Is that fair?
yeah, yeah.
Um, I think you the the best lever any salesperson can have. Well, you asked another question, which is like, how do you make sure you're selling what the client needs and nothing more? And I think that's really important, right? I was on a call with somebody that they have 3 hotels, 3 restaurants, um, and I had a sandbox on their order schedule. I had our regular service on there, not
Hmm.
like our premium support. And I just told him, I was like, you could maybe go up higher and get premium support. That might be helpful for you, but I don't think you need it. You can probably save money. I think the sandbox with all the integrations that you're doing is probably a good thing, but you can always add it on later. And so I think it's really important to just be
Be real.
candid and yeah, just be authentic, right? And I think
Yeah,
that's what I really try and do when I'm on LinkedIn is be approachable and authentic, right? And
yeah.
not to dovetail this, but it's kind of what I've been doing there, and then it just translates to when you're having a conversation with whether it's Javi at OEE, or it's a client there. And when you do those things, the quota it will take care of itself. And I mean
That's
that
true.
in like I mean that in the way that like you have to trust the process and you do the things the right way. And if you do that, then you will hit quota, so to speak, or exceed quota. And so that's really been my focus, is trust the process and try not to think about that quota piece. And then it sort of, in my world,
Takes care
has,
of itself.
yeah, I've been really fortunate to, and it's hasn't always been that way, but you also like don't forget that there's hustle, there's grind, there's grit. Like the best sellers always have a lot of qualified conversations going because there's also like you want to provide value and you want to be able to illustrate the value that the software is providing, and you want the
Hmm.
client to feel good about what they're buying and that they're getting the value out of that. And so it's that balance of finding and generating pipeline and funnel and doing that, and then having enough of that where you're not going into calls sounding desperate. I mean, I think that if you're a salesperson listening to this, the worst thing you can do is be desperate, for 2 reasons. One, nobody wants to work with like a needy. I mean, I hate to bring it back, but like, what is the movie? It's Stage 5 Clinger. Like
Yeah,
nobody wants that in any aspect of their life, especially if they're buying something. And then also, you're probably not going to do very well when it comes to talking about commercial terms if you're super desperate. So having multiple conversations going and serving as many people as you can at one point is going to help you hit quota, I
big
guess.
time.
Yeah.
All right, I like that. So then, specific to like, how did you find Sage? Was that just like you surfing LinkedIn? Was it a connection you made? Because obviously it's another big player in the space, but I wonder how that happened.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was finishing up building that house. I was unemployed, playing golf a lot. And my poor wife, who's a pediatric nurse practitioner, was on the front lines of COVID, right? And so
Oof.
she's watching me like play a ton of golf and build this house, and she's there doing it. So that was tough. And when I was at R365 and I was working with bigger, more complex restaurant groups,
Yeah.
I always ran into Sage Intacct. It was, we play in the same space. And so I knew about Intacct. I knew it was an awesome product. I knew it was a product first company, meaning it's not Oracle NetSuite where we don't have 500 salespeople. I would actually say that Restaurant 365, I think today has more salespeople than Sage Intacct does
Wow.
on the direct side. And you have to think Sage Intacct serves not just restaurants, hotels, we work with
Construction.
we do construction, we do non-for-profit, we do financial services, we
Yeah.
do general, electric, plumbing, general business. We've got an incredible product with incredible depth. And
Yeah.
so when I would get into those conversations at R365 with bigger clients that had a little bit more complexity, they weren't just, 50 Dave's hot chicken or, whatever it was like, hey, I've got 40 Dairy Queens, I've got 10 car washes, I've got stuff happening in Canada, I've got stuff that we're going to start opening up in Europe. Like R365, that just isn't their bread and butter. And it's really Intacct's bread and butter, Sage's bread and butter. So I sent a cold LinkedIn message to a recruiter at Sage Intacct, and I was like, hey, I've sold ERP for the last 2.5 years. I was pretty successful at it. I saw your hiring, and they connected me with the hiring manager, and it was done in like I don't know, 2 weeks. I'd actually accepted a job with a company called Twilio, which was super sexy, hot in the voice communication space, and I was really like,
Juggling.
yeah, I was trying to figure out which was right, and Twilio was super sexy, and their stock price had gone like this for the last years, and I had some friends there that were totally did not need to
Crushing
work.
it.
They didn't need to work anymore. They had gotten there early, and it was like they're
Oh
working because they
wow.
want to, right?
Wow.
But they didn't have to, and so I ultimately said no thank you and came to Sage, and it was the best thing I ever did because I think Twilio's had like 3 layoffs in the 5 years that I've been here, and like the sales team is crushed and the stock price is tanked. So
You're not looking to do another construction project?
we just wrapped up one. Well, I guess we did another, but with the move across the country and having to kind of rebuild that business from the ground up, um, in Virginia and to young kids. It's just we're just being present right here in the moment, enjoying the kids because they blink and it's again, I've said the word cliche too many times, but everybody tells you you blink and then they're moving out or
Of
going to
course.
college. And I get it because that's how I feel. All of a sudden we've
Insane.
got a 2-year-old and almost 5-year-old.
Good for you, man. So, I'm
Yeah.
really interested in Sage Intacct in terms of I feel like you definitely are selling to a specific type of operator, right? You touched on a little bit like somebody who might have various brands or a big franchise footprint, or maybe even multiple lines of business, not just on the restaurant side, but on the real estate side, etc. But as far as I know, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's definitely not the cheapest software. It's definitely an investment, right?
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up because I just got back from Sage has a beautiful new office in Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay.
Um, and we did our quarterly business reviews, and we were just talking about the overall accounting, finance, ERP marketplace and what's happening right
Yeah.
now. It's a really interesting time to be in our space. And so I think that Sage is well positioned from a pricing standpoint in the sense that there's some people I'll talk to on R365, and I bring that name up just because we're talking about restaurant specific, but they're spending way more money on R365 than they would on Sage Intacct.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Um, and then you've got some folks that are smaller R365 groups that are going to be spending less on R365 than they are on Sage Intacct. So
Okay,
there's
got
kind
it.
of this
Like a cross section.
yeah, exactly. We kind of scale like this at Sage Intacct.
Understood. Understood.
Traditionally, R365 is more like this. Every time you add a location, it's $200 to $600 per location. I don't know what their pricing is.
Right. Right.
But
Understood.
from that point. But then we have clients that, I always tell clients, if you're at like 7 or 8 locations and you want the best accounting software, like Intacct is better than R365. I can say that with a straight face. And we just aren't going to do the back office. But I also have clients at R365 that, and when I say back office, I mean, we're not doing inventory management, we're not doing menu mix, we're not doing recipes. We're doing
Some of like the industry specific kind of nuance stuff.
exactly. I mean, but Intacct has built industry specific stuff, right? We've got the 13 period calendar, we've got a 445, we've got a 454, we've got a 544 calendar, right? So we do that. We automate the sales from the point of sale into Sage Intacct. We automate the inventory in from the Bill Lindsay at Cogswell. You've got the Craftables, the Market Mans, the Margin Edges, right? We do all of that. So I tell clients, if you're in that 7 to 10 location realm and you want the best accounting and you're struggling with R365 ops, it's probably it probably wouldn't be it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world for you to explore Sage Intacct and the best back office tool with the best accounting tool. And so that's kind of how we position ourselves. And I've also got clients that they have 4 locations and or 4 or 5 locations, and they're going to spend $25,000 more per year using Sage Intacct and Margin Edge because they went and they looked at R365 and NetSuite, and they went through the value, the evaluation process, and they're like, yeah, we get it. Like, this is just going to be better for our business. We can reduce headcount on the operation side and here, and that makes up for the $25,000 delta between you guys and R365. And we see that a lot. So there's certainly more expensive software out there than Sage Intacct, but I think we're positioned well to add value to our clients, and we don't run into that pricing piece as like a roadblock to working with clients.
I'd love to hear your take because you've been in this for a while now. Now that we're because it sounds like you were at R365 for a few years, and then you certainly have spent some time at Sage, right? It's been like 4 or 5 years with Sage.
Yeah, just had 5-year anniversary.
Congrats.
Thanks, man.
So being that you've been in this and you've seen the COVID thing happen, and there's obviously been, there's constantly evolving restaurant industry, but the world in general. Like, do you find it harder to sell than it was before? Do you think people are more gun shy in the economic environment because there's uncertainty and interest rates and stuff? Like, does that play in at all into how you approach, or do you feel it? Do you feel like it's tougher to close?
Yeah, that's a good question. And there's certainly a lot of stuff happening in the news recently, and I guess with your neighbors, right? I'm trying to
Yeah, with Venezuela, of course. Yeah.
Not to flip the narrative on the political spectrum here, but Yeah, to answer your question, I mean, I think we're at a really interesting point. You know, when I started, let's say I got into the accounting and finance ERP space a decade ago,
Yeah.
I was in my late 20s and I was selling to CFOs that were in their 50s. And now I'm 10 years further along, and I'm selling to people that are my age. So there's this interesting sort of intersect of where the passing of the torch is now coming
Starting
to
to happen.
my peers, right? And people that
Sure.
like, oh, you go on LinkedIn, it's like, oh, you went to this same school as like my wife's, little brother or whatever, younger
Ah,
sister. So it's kind of interesting there. And I would say that the market is thirsty for AI. And a year and a half ago, people were super scared of it. But dude, it's
sure.
here. And I mean, you look at it starts with accounts payable and the factors of the world, the shoe boxes of the world, like the Plate
Hmm.
IQ, which is Automate now. I mean, it's
Sure.
just it's so much touch that side that like the office of the CFO, they're hungry for how can I use Gen AI in the marketplace and make life easier for us because like restaurants, man, it's just so hard to run a restaurant, right? Like labor is going through the roof.
Yeah. Everything.
Wage, minimum wage is going up, which I think is a great thing, right? Like you want people
Yeah.
to have livable wages. You want the staff to be taken care of. Food cost or egg prices was the one last
I
month.
remember that.
Now it's
Wings,
yeah, now
eggs.
and now it's going to beef prices are going. It's just like you just if you're a poor restaurant, you're just getting hit from every side. So
I know.
I think the office of the CFO has changed in the last decade, where it's really the focus is we're not just data entry people.
Yes.
We're like strategic advisors to the business now. We have to be because we want to
Absolutely.
go from 5 locations or we want to go from 15 locations to, 100 locations. How do we do that? And
Absolutely.
so I think it's a really fun time for us to be in the space that we're in. And I also just love food. You can probably just
Absolutely.
tell that by the physique. Like I'm not missing meals here.
I love it. All right, Chad.
Yeah,
So going
good
into
question.
2026 now, I mean, obviously you talked a little bit about AI. You talked a little bit about, the need to figure out exactly, you know, how to add value in conversations, which I think is all super important. So, what do you got going on this year in terms of goals? Because, I mean, your presence on LinkedIn's incredible. Um, you're living in a new place in Virginia. You're probably settled in by now, and what do you hope in 2026 brings for the Freedman household?
Ooh, the Freedman household. Peace, love and peace, man. Peace and love. That's what I want in my household. Um, yeah, I think. Well, you said a lot of really kind things. Yeah, I've invested a lot of time and energy on LinkedIn, and that's been really fun. I would say, you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable and knowing that the stuff you're going to put out, people, it isn't going to be for everyone.
Sure.
Um,
Have you
but
had any nasty side messages or anything when you say stuff?
not to my face, not always to my face. I have one funny story from I'll share an anecdote, and I need to resurface this LinkedIn post because it's so funny. I had like my iMessage is connected to my computer,
Okay.
and so I had a message pop up from a number I didn't have.
Okay.
And it was like, oh my gosh, like Chad Freedman is a LinkedIn influencer. It's so cringe. And then it was like right when iPhone like released the whole you can delete messages. But
Okay.
I'd like done the screenshot in time and captured it. And I was like, I just responded. I was like, at least I'm so happy that you have the courage to at least say it to my face. And they like backed off so fast. They deleted the message. They're like, oh, I meant to send that to somebody else. And I was like, no, no, like it's awesome that it's good. You should feel good that you said that to my face, because saying it behind somebody's back is like just below the belt, man. Like if you're gonna say it to someone's face.
Give
And
it to
so
me.
yeah, like, and look, man, I get it. There is a lot of cringe stuff out there. I'm sure I've put stuff out and will continue to put stuff out that makes people cringe. And I'm okay with that at this point. So that's one of the funny stories from LinkedIn. But in terms of 2026 goals, getting back to that, I do want to, I feel like I've been on, I want for the Freedman household, I want my kids to have just an awesome summer. I think like really being a student of what's happening in generative AI and software and restaurant technology is one of my goals for this year. I want to continue to be active and post content that is helpful for people on LinkedIn. And one thing that like I think is really fun is like I can't tell you, like literally I think every day this week, which is crazy to say, I've gotten an in-mail on LinkedIn from either somebody that wants to hire me, or most of the people are like, I got one from a kid that went to the same high school as me, like 4 or 5 years after me, who is an absolute legend on the lacrosse field. Played lacrosse at the University of Virginia, and then when we played lacrosse at High Point University when they built their program. And he just sent the most heartfelt, thoughtful message. He was like, "Hey man, that post about failure the other day really resonated with me. Like, it felt like it was my autobiography. Like, when I think of people that I want to work with, like, I think you are the guy I want to work with." And it's like, so for all the people that are like thinking about posting on LinkedIn or getting involved on LinkedIn and worried about what other people think, I would just really encourage you to just stop caring what the other people think. And the people that are like gonna make fun of you or tell you like it's cringe, it's like they probably have a different, it's not you, that it's probably like an insecurity that they have that they're projecting. And let them figure out that problem and focus on like, what are you trying to do on LinkedIn, right? Is it to help people? And that's what I'm trying to do, whether it's CFOs or accountants. So when you get those messages, it's just like, yeah, I don't really care what other people think.
It wins. That wins
Yeah,
over everything.
it's a win. It's a win. So
Well, I'll
yeah,
tell you
man.
right now, Chad.
Yeah,
In the times I've met you, you're kind, you're thoughtful. I love your posts. I
appreciate
especially
it.
love and I don't know if you plan them or not, but I love the posts you make that are just like off the cuff, where you're talking about life, or you're talking about things that you're up to. I find, like I told you in the beginning of the show, you're one of the few people on earth that I think makes restaurant tech sales fun,
I
and
appreciate it.
so I enjoy what you're doing, and you know what? I think you automatically, from my perspective, as soon as you have somebody telling you you're cringe, it means you made it. Because haters to me mean success. So
There you
congratulations.
go. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. Well, this has been super fun, and I appreciate you inviting me on to chat with you. And I don't know that I have the most interesting story, but if it helps anybody out there, then that's great. So
Then it's a win. You got any shows
yeah.
coming up that you're heading to, Chad? When do we get to hang out?
Oh, geez, that's a good question. I don't have any shows on the calendar. I actually have a bunch of travel this month for fun. I've got a
Okay, good
friend
for you.
40th birthday. They've got two kids around the same age, so they've got a big group of people. We're going to Cozumel for a few days, and
Rock
then
on.
my wife and I are going to go skiing for a few days in British Columbia, and it's going to be a no kids trip, our first
Little Whistler
one.
Blackcomb action.
We're going to check out Lake Louise, so that'll be cool. And
Cool. I
yeah,
love it
and
up
that'll
there.
be yeah, it'll be my wife's first time. Last year I went and was super fortunate that got to fill in for somebody at Bald Face Lodge, which is a really cool cat skiing operation. But anyways, so for us, the next little bit, the travel is really
It's for you.
around family and focusing on that. And I'd say that's the theme for 2026 is what's going to be best for the Freedmans. That's what we're going to focus on.
I love it, man. Well, I wish all the best to the Freedmans and to you. Thanks for joining the podcast, man. Thanks for telling us your story. And if anybody wants to reach out to you, how do they get a hold of you?
You can go to my LinkedIn. I think that's the easiest way. Just pop there. It's Chad Freedman, LinkedIn, and you just connect with me, and I'm super responsive on there. And yeah, that's it.
That's awesome, man. Thanks for being on the show, man.
Yeah, man. Peace and love. I appreciate it.
Peace and love. Cool. Thanks, Chad.
86 Reason Podcast was brought to you by Over Easy Office, outsourced bookkeeping solution